Here we've got Starcom, the U.S. Space Force. This is from 1986 by Coleco. I think this toy line is just really cool. I know it didn't do super well in the US and kind of enjoyed more success in Europe. I never really watched the cartoon, but I was really into the vehicles and figures, both of which have a couple of gimmicks. There's the Magnalock magnetic action figure, which is just ceramic magnets in the figure's feet that attach to little metal plates on the vehicles. And most of the vehicles have kind of a motorized or flip-out spring-loaded feature. First off, I thought we'd look at one of the figures. This is one of the good guys, the U.S. Space Force. This is Private First Class Sean Reed. He's a fuel pumper, Starbase Command with an M9 RIP rifle and hypervolt power pack. I really like the figure artwork on these. They're really nicely rendered. They look a lot like the dudes, like they didn't kind of ignore that they have the giant boots here to accommodate the ceramic magnets, and the second blister just holds their enormous weapons and backpacks and hoses, which I would always lose. On the back, of course, there's a clippable card about Sean Reed. It's talking about how the U.S. Space Force of Starcom is fighting against the Shadow Force, which are the bad guys, which consist of a lot of humans and robots and kind of cyborgs. Well, the good guys are this multinational force of heroes. And you can probably tell right away it's a very militarized sci-fi world, but it's interesting how developed it is. Like he's part of Starbase. He's part of Starbase Command, so he's got the symbol on his chest here, which is on the figure, and he's a private first class, which is reflected on his little rank badge. Sure, even that pip on his chest there means something. Figures themselves are nice. Plastic's gotten a little sticky over the years, but they're kind of that mask scale, but they maybe a little smaller even than mask. But yeah, there's the magnets in their feet. They've got kind of this C-grip hand. They had visors that would flip up and down that were also extremely easy to lose. Now, in terms of accessories, he's got his power pack backpack here. I believe they're supposed to face down, so you've got the little tab to connect their hose to, and they kind of had two tabs that go into holes on his back, which is kind of unfortunate because if one of those snaps, they're very delicate, so it would happen. You're pretty much out of luck there. Now he's got this comically large gun that snaps in really well. It's as big as he is. It's a heavily armed gas station attendant in space. And of course, the Magnalock feature. So we gotta have a bad guy for him to square off against, and this is Sergeant Borek, the attack leader invasion with twin whip pistol and hypervolt power pack. You can see he's an angry man. There's giant booties and many pockets. Looks like his visor is loose inside the blister here. So he's part of the invasion force, and he is a sergeant. So he's got his various insignia on him, and that's the Shadow Force's logo on his chest there, that kind of upside down Triforce. And you don't really learn a whole lot about the characters themselves. It's just, as you can tell by their scale, I mean, this line is all about the vehicles, just like Mask was. And here, it's got a young astronauts tie-in here. Apparently part of the development of this was to encourage kids to get involved with, get interested in being an astronaut, like you needed anything to convince a kid of that. Let's open up Sergeant Borek. And he's very similar. They have a much more sinister color. Of course, there's his visor stuck to the back of his leg. They have a very kind of darker, more menacing color scheme with kind of a purple visor instead of see-through. But you know, nice paint applications on these guys, and even those little pockets are even on him that are on the cover art. His backpack is a little bit different, which is nice, but his mount for his little energy pipe thing is offset to the side. And his gun is much smaller, but it has two barrels, so you know he's a bad guy. He has an excessive amount of cabling here compared to our private that we looked at earlier. So you can see side by side a lot of the molding certainly looks similar, but there is quite a bit of unique tooling on each one. Like, there's no real repetition of parts. Even the arms have slightly different molds. But yeah, this guy's got way too much tube. He needs to settle down there. It appears this guy's got too much gun. This guy's got too much tube. And lastly, the vehicle I have is the Battle Crane Combat Cargo Lifter. In case you needed a fight, get in a fight when you're taking out the garbage. This is a bit of a cheat. This one has been opened, but it has not been played with. Like, the stickers haven't been applied or anything. The back is just as much information you could ever want to read about a battle crane. And unfortunately, this did not come with the figure, but you can even see the vehicle itself has its own logo, and it's part of the star wing, and those are reflected on the character as well as his rank. So there's quite a bit of detail and thought that they put into these, which I always thought was really cool. It's 21st century, so magnetic boots and self-winding spring motor space vehicles are just around the corner. Yeah, I just thought it would be kind of a disservice to Starcom to not at least have a vehicle to talk about, because this line is all about the vehicles. And this is the battle crane itself. And you can see it's kind of folded up. Plastic's kind of gotten a little yellow over the years on the front there, and it comes with its cargo pod as well. What was great about this line is like everything was modular, and they're kind of, the smaller vehicles would all fold down to this size. And I remember there's not only a cargo pod version of this, but there was one where there was seats, so you could put figures in it and put them inside the other vehicles, like the Starmax bomber, which was a really cool, larger craft that had a spring-loaded back that you could place these inside of. But they all had, spring-loaded features. This one has engines that deploy, still work great. They, this is a magnetic pad here, so the figures would attach. Looks like there we go. He's still got it. And the other button kind of deploys the front here, which also has magnets, so the figures stayed in there really well. Guns that flip out. An even larger gun that extends. There it goes. A little lopsided, but it'll do the job. And this feature would also allow you to pick up another item and pushing the same button drops it, which is pretty cool. And these extending legs. Here's the battle crane with its legs extended. Oh, we've got a wonky one back here. So it would have its flight engines up and can then squat on other modules. And the thing about the characters with all their accessories was um, the backpacks were prohibitive for putting them in most of the vehicles because they had a usually pretty tight fit. You can see those are really tight in there, so easy to break. But they kind of sit in there. You know, they stay in there really well because of the magnets, which is a nice touch. But what was nice about these cargo pods was a good place to store your stuff and your human trafficking. See about putting the stickers on really quick and see if those will held up over the years. Let's start with the cargo container gets its own stickers. That is Starcom, very cool motorized and magnetic toy line from 1986. Thanks for watching.